Good morning, everyone. Daphne, I felt like I was in a club there or a spa or something.
A little pump up music to get ready
Yeah,
for today's topic.
DJ Daphne spinning that music.
Yes.
If this marketing thing doesn't work out for you, right?
I could always play some non-copyright music.
Non-copyright music. Well, you work at a law firm or what?
I thought it was really good. I liked it. It kind of gets you
Yeah.
into the mood to be working and doing all sorts of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Not
Well,
so, it's not so distracting that you're humming along.
if we could always get Natalie to maybe sing us a song or two, right, Nat?
Maybe later. I don't want to murder people before we begin.
Not everybody knows this, but Natalie's an influencer and celebrity. She's got a following.
You're so funny, Russ. I do online karaoke. It's a sad but true fact about myself.
It's awesome.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
What's
You've
your
got a
go-to song?
Usually anything country.
Oh,
I like Shania Twain. I like the Dixie Chicks. Yeah. But I also do some pop and R&B as well.
Who's your partner in crime, Nat? Usually you have a buddy on with you.
It's Olivia Guzman. She lives in
Yeah.
Chicago, and honestly, she is truly, truly gifted. She should be a professional singer. I just sing with her because it makes me feel better about my lack of talent.
Well, you guys look like sisters almost.
Thank you. Yeah, we were told that when we went out for my birthday celebration, so
Yeah.
I'm not the only one to think so.
And we got Cindy who rode her bicycle to today's webinar. Welcome, Cindy.
Hi.
And Jennifer. Welcome, Jennifer. Is this the first time on a Family Law Now?
It is the first time. Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Look at you going live without a net, streaming on Zoom and YouTube at the same time. What can go wrong?
I think this is my first time streaming on YouTube, so lots of firsts today.
And your boss is watching, right?
I hope so. Jean? I don't know.
Hello, Jean.
How many
Um,
participants are we at?
Oh, well, our audience is coming in. Welcome, everybody. We're going to give it a few more minutes before we make a start. We've got people populating on Zoom and streaming live on YouTube. So great to have everybody join us today. Carrie, any tennis or volleyball going on? Do you follow the Masters at all?
Well, there's a lot of tennis going on right now because it's the start of the clay season. So I've been glued to scores all morning because they're playing overseas. So having a good time doing that. It's getting really ridiculous though, getting up at 4 a.m. to watch tennis though. And I did play last night. My serve was on point, my backhand not so much.
Clay is a lot of maintenance, right? You got to water it and talk to it nicely and tender it.
It's not my preferred surface.
I
It's
heard
too dirty.
I heard it's easier on the knees and the joints. So
Yeah, that's for sure. Although if you look at some of the older players, they might be that are falling apart. They might be thinking differently because you can slide across it really, really easily. But I think you're like jamming in your joints a lot.
don't they shorten the courts for the older players? What's that called?
No, that's pickleball.
Oh yeah, that's what the older people do, right? Apparently there's a lot of pickleball injuries in the emergency room now.
Oh yeah, it's huge, but it's super fun. I get shunned when I go to pickleball. They're like, oh, that's the tennis player.
It's a thing. You're seeing more and more pickleball courts.
It's super fun. Do you play?
I used to just, when I say I played tennis, that means I just try to hit the ball over a couple times. But the courts we were playing at, they would use part of the tennis court to do pickleball. And then the pickleball players got a lot upset at the people running the park saying we want our own court. So they built pickleball courts. It's like a whole thing now. So I don't go anymore. It's too much politics.
So have you ever tried pickleball though?
No, isn't
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's like ping pong, right?
Now it's a kind of a ruthless game in a lot of ways, so I really enjoy it because it can like really bring out your competitive spirit. I just have to remind myself I'm not playing tennis when I'm playing pickleball.
Jenny, I see you shaking your head. You're a pickleball player?
I wouldn't call myself a pickleball player, but I've played a couple times. It's super fun. And I think I'm not very good at tennis. Like, there's a lot of running in tennis. And pickleball is
Too much exercise?
the lazy version. The lazy version of tennis. It's just easier, not as far to travel.
Oh my
I'm gonna date myself. I used to play Pong. Remember that?
Oh
Video
yeah.
Yes.
Burn a hole into your television.
100%.
Oh my, that
You
would
can't
be
get spin on the ball in Pong though.
that'd be it in the 1980s. All right, come on, Daphne, control this rally crowd. Let's get our show on the road here.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that discussion. Welcome to Family Law Now live virtual event series, and thank you for joining us today for Building a Collaborative Practice, Tips for Family Lawyers. This session has been accredited for 1 hour of professionalism content by the LSO. And today the panel will discuss accreditation, networking, marketing, education, initial consultations, sustainability, and success. And as always, we encourage you to participate in the polls and use the Q&A feature throughout the event. All the resources mentioned today will be included in the show notes, which you will receive via email later this week. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome our panel. Today we have Russell Alexander, Natalie Derbyshire, Carrie Heinzel, Cindy Shizman, and Jenny Kirshen. Thank you all for joining us today. So Russell Alexander is the founder of Russell Alexander Collaborative Family Lawyers. With over 25 years of experience, he uses his knowledge and expertise to serve his clients in all aspects of family law and helps them in coping with the difficulties of separation and divorce. He uses his experience to create unique solutions for each client to enable them and their families to move forward and supports them through the transition of divorce. Russell has written 4 books on separation and divorce and is a fully trained collaborative practice lawyer. He speaks at conferences on collaborative practice, marketing, technology, and the law. Next up, we have Natalie. Natalie was called to the Bar of Ontario in 2006. She provides clients with peace of mind through sound advice and helps them navigate separations confidently, focusing on dispute resolution processes like collaboration, mediation, and negotiation. She aims to save clients money and achieve reasonable settlements. Specializing in supporting vulnerable clients, particularly those affected by family violence, Natalie offers legal knowledge, safety measures, and therapeutic resources. A certified collaborative practitioner since 2011, she serves on the board of directors for Collaborative Divorce Toronto and chairs its membership committee. She also serves on the board of directors for the Family Dispute Resolution Institute of Ontario and co-chairs the Family Violence section. Thank you so much for joining us, Natalie. Next,
Thank you for having me.
our pleasure. Next, we have Carrie. Carrie Heinzel is the founder of Fairmore Family Law Financial Solutions. Fairmore offers independent, fact-based financial analytics and settlement insights to individuals and couples working through separation and divorce. Carrie is an active collaborative process trainer, co-teaching the introductory program for new collaborative professionals and advanced level trainings for seasoned practitioners. She sits on the board of directors for York and Durham Collaborative Practice and is the president-elect of the OACP.
Not anymore.
Oh,
I'm now the past president. I think you have my old bio.
oh, sorry, Carrie.
That's okay.
She has taught statistics, research methodologies, psychology at college and university levels. And in addition, Carrie has presented at conferences for the OACP, FDR, Institute of Ontario Annual Conference, and the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals. Thank you for joining us, Carrie.
Pleasure.
Next, we have Cindy. With a passion for a therapeutic process, Cindy Shizman works with individuals, couples, and teens to help them navigate life's challenges. She offers support and expertise in communication issues, conflict resolution, anxiety, depression, grief, and relationship counseling. With over 30 years of experience, Cindy specializes in working with families, children, and individuals facing transitions such as divorce. She is trained in collaborative practice, proficient in writing parenting plans and the voice of the child reports, and adept in handling high conflict situations with both litigation and collaborative settings. Cindy brings a compassionate heart, an inquisitive mind, and deep insight to her sessions, collaborating with clients to discover and cultivate their inner resources. She's committed to providing personalized support, whether working one-on-one or with partners, guiding them towards healthy solutions and greater confidence in their circumstances. Thank you for joining us, Cindy.
Thank you for having me.
And last but certainly not least, we have Jenny. Jenny has practiced family law at the Jean C. Coleman Family Law Center since 2016, dedicating her practice to helping clients achieve fair, efficient, and lasting settlements through collaborative law and alternative dispute resolution. Her collaborative approach emphasizes respectful communication, thoughtful problem solving, and creative outcomes. In recognition of her dedication to settlement-based family law, Jennifer joined the board of Collaborative Divorce Toronto in February 2023. Jennifer previously served as a legal consultant at the Toronto office of a global law firm, completed her articles with Ontario's Ministry of the Attorney General, and before that, she earned her JD from Osgoode Hall Law School. Outside the office, Jennifer enjoys spending time with her family and traveling. Thanks for joining us, Jenny. And now I will hand things over to Russell Alexander to get started with the presentation.
Thank you for those kind words, Daphne. Let's throw up the training slide. We're going to be mentioning this throughout the program. We have collaborative practice training coming up in the fall. We're offering today a 10% discount if you sign up by Friday. Daphne will put the link into the chat. Daphne, Q&A, just put it in the Q&A box. We're going to answer as many questions as we can today. Let's run our first poll. Oh, here's the slide here. So October 20 and some dates in November. This is virtual. Carrie, you're participating in this, right?
100%. Always do.
And
it's a great training.
yeah, Jonathan Painter is our family professional. Brian Gilbraith is, I would say, our lead counsel, super experienced, wealth of information, excellent trainer. So look for this throughout the program, and we will put the link and QR code. Let's run our first poll. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So take a few minutes to answer this. We'll get to the results in a moment. But while we're on training, how do you become accredited in collaborative practice, Carrie? And go ahead.
The rest, you know what? I think having this slide up is so perfect. So for people wanting to become accredited in collaborative, you need to take the training first. It is your first step in doing this. And I want to add with this is that don't be shy about signing up and doing a collaborative training. It doesn't mean that your practice has to change so that you're now doing 100% collaborative. A lot of lawyers and other professionals, what they'll do is they'll take their training, they'll do some collaborative, or they may transition their practices over through time to be a complete collaborative practice. But we find that so many of our collaborative lawyers that have a mixed practice, they're doing some alternative dispute resolution where it's maybe lawyer-to-lawyer negotiations, or they're in full litigation. They're finding the skills that they're learning in the training for collaborative to be absolutely invaluable. Like they're finding our judges are collaboratively trained and they're seeing those things come out and they're having great results for their clients and their clients.
You're exactly right. It makes you a better litigator using this set.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are the nuts and bolts? How do you become accredited?
Well,
there are a number of hours and you need training, right?
Yeah, so it's about a 40-hour training program. The program that we have up on the slide here right now, what we do is we really looked at the dynamics that come into doing the training. And one of the things that we were really cognizant about is these are billable hours for people that are working. These are billable hours for all of us. And so we wanted to make sure that we were having an impact where you could be learning, but still getting your work done, still paying attention to your clients while you're getting this training done. So that's why we have multiple days. These are half days that you're going to come into. It's about 4 hours in the afternoon. We do give breaks. We teach in a bunch of modalities. We have some slides. We have some movies. We have quizzes. We have everything that we can throw at it. It's a lot of fun. But we were really cognizant about people being able to still earn while they were learning.
And this is virtual, right? We don't have to go to a different city, book a hotel room, be away from families.
Yeah, absolutely virtual. It kept it nice and easy. I know it's the other thing that we've put up on here that we are offering a discount to anybody that wants to do this training as well. We want to make sure that this is as valuable as possible for everybody that's coming out.
All right, and that expires Friday. Let's see who our audience is. Poll results, please, Daphne. All right, I'm a family lawyer, 63%. Lawyer from another area of law, 23%. Mental health professional, 3%. Law clerk, 3%. So A good diversity today. Thank you for participating. All right, building your collaborative practice network. This is important. Cindy, how do we do this?
So one of the ways to do it after you've done the training is joining a collaborative practice group. So a professional group will offer you the ability to connect with like-minded professionals, both the neutrals, the financial professional, the family professional, as well as other collaborative lawyers. It offers you support and it offers you ongoing training. So currently I'm on the board of director for the Durham Collaborative Practice Group and York Region Collaborative Practice Group. And the ability to network with like-minded professionals has certainly enhanced my ability to build my practice and to get to know the people that you will be working with. There's also, like for these two groups, and each group has their own kind of way they run, but we do monthly study group meetings. And in these study group meetings, we're offering a variety of topics on collaborative practice, on helping you maintain your practice, connecting with other individuals, asking questions, networking, and getting that kind of support. It allows you also to connect with the neutrals, which is really important, and not just the family law lawyers, to help you build your team. And so that's one of the ways to do it. Another way is when you do meet somebody, reach out, have a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee chat, get to know one another, connect on a more personal level as well. And because you want to know who you're working with to see if your personalities mesh, if you have similar values, if you have similar ideas and visions on how to practice. And that certainly will help you get known and get you to know other people to help build your practice.
Great tips, Jenny.
Yeah, so just to build on what Cindy said, I think joining these local groups is really, really important. Attending the events. It's an amazing way to meet people in your local area that are collaboratively trained, and this can lead to referrals. Another thing we have in our area, I'm on the board of CDT. Within CDT, there are small groups. So small groups are essentially a smaller group, maybe 6 to 12 people, mix of lawyers and professionals, and they meet about 6 times a year for 90 minutes. It's not a huge time commitment, but I found that this is a really great way to meet people and also to have an opportunity to ask questions, get a bit of mentorship. I know the small group that I'm in, we often do some kind of educational topic, but then the small group will open the floor and you have an opportunity to talk about the challenges you may be facing in your practice. You can ask, about something that's going on in one of your files. You can ask the other professionals if they've ever experienced what you're experiencing, which is, it's a really, really great resource. It allows you to develop the relationships with the interdisciplinary professionals. And again, that's the best way to get referrals.
Great tips. Let's run our next poll, and maybe Carrie, in 30 seconds or less, just for the people who don't know what collaborative practice is. This is a fairly advanced program we're running today. What is 30-second answer to what collaborative practice is? Next poll is, how do you market your collaborative practice? And then I might go to you, Nat, for some input. So 30 seconds or less, go.
So collaborative practice is an interest-based process, so that we are concentrating on people's goals and their interests. We are taking the adversity out of it. We are concentrating and providing a concierge service in which we are adapting your agreement so that is tailor-made to your family and making sure that everybody can move forward as a family and not be tearing the family apart. That's it in a nutshell.
All right, good summary. Nat, you want to add to that at all?
Sure. We often have several experts at the table assisting us, which is very beneficial to lawyers. I find it helps me tremendously. They help manage our clients' expectations. Financial professionals can speak to tax efficiencies and be very strategic in terms of how they're dividing property or dividing the net family income. so that it's the most tax efficient way possible. Family professionals help us stay child focused. And I think that also contributes to the overall success level of separating parties when they become co-parents and ultimately leave the nest and we're no longer with them.
Yeah, great advice. All right, let's see what our audience is thinking. We're going to talk about marketing yourself as a collaborative lawyer. And I don't know, 50%. Well, you're in the right spot. We're going to help you with that today. Collaborative practice groups, 33%, internet, 33%, networking conferences, 33%, social media, 29%, marketing team or agency, 4%, and I raised it in my consultations. So let's leave these poll results up.
I think you
And
left off my favorite, Russ.
for me,
You left off my favorite.
oh, it's in there. Other? Oh, I tell
No.
anyone to listen. Sorry,
No, I will tell
Oh.
anyone who will listen.
gotta scroll down. All right. This is a tough nut, right? I know people who get the training and they go first 2 years, they don't get a case. Like it's really discouraging. They're excited. They want to, move their practice in a new direction, be less adversarial, and it just doesn't get off the ground, right? Though there is a tipping point, and you just have to put yourself out there. These are all great ways. You need to build it into your website. I don't even know if people have websites anymore. Your Google My Business profile, brochures, however you market your practice, whatever kind of practice area you're in, make that part of your marketing habit. Really, it's a habit now, right? It's not just something you don't print off $40 worth of flyers once a year and hope something happens. Networking conferences, we've heard everybody talk about that today. Have a bit of an elevator speech. If you engage somebody at a cocktail party or a birthday party or something, throw it, you're not just a divorced professional, you're also a collaboratively trained professional, and talk about it. Social media, this is huge. Your website's where you house your information. Nobody goes to your website anymore. They'll see you on your social channels. So talk about it. If there's an interesting story in the news, post about it on your social media platform, whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I know a lawyer in Arizona who's super effective on Twitter or X. She's got 40,000 followers. 80% of her clients come from it. And Instagram, you name it, there's ways to get it out there. Marketing team agency, very expensive. When you stop paying the agency, the marketing stops. I would be careful with that, depending on what your budget is. Raise it in your initial consultations. This is fantastic. Every file I get, I ask, can we do this collaboratively? And even the ones we used to red flag 20 years ago, domestic violence, high conflict, sometimes they're the best suited for collaborative because the court system's just going to victimize the person again. And you could do it by shuttle mediation. There's lots of safeguards you can put in place. Tell anyone who will listen, other put it in the box. I find it really effective. My default position is everything's collaborative, and there's got to be a pretty good reason why it's not going to be collaborative. Oftentimes it's the other lawyer doesn't have the training. That's fine. We could do a modified approach using collaborative principles and encourage that lawyer to get the training. But that's my default position. I'll tell clients what other options are, but that's how I go about marketing. What do you guys take away from that? Any tips that you want to add? Jenny, I'm going to call on you first.
Sorry, I just had to get myself off mute there. I think, screaming it from the hilltops is the most important piece here. Just educating people about collaborative practice, because I know lots of people come to our office, I'm sure to your office, and they don't even know about it. They don't even know, what is this process? Is this going to get me what I want? Is this some, hokey pokey new age thing? It's just
go hug a tree or something.
yeah, exactly. And one thing that I've thought about doing is even on your intake forms, putting in a box, check this box. Are you interested in an out of court process? Have you heard of collaborative process? So then you know where you're starting from, what this potential client knows, and how much education you really need to give at that initial stage.
We have a program that Carrie helped spearhead calling Runaway Train. And we focus on pulling high conflict court cases out of the court system and settling them collaboratively. And a lot of these families, the file ends up on my desk after 2 years of litigation. And I mentioned collaborative practice. Nobody told them that was an option 2 years ago. They would have done it had that been an option given to them. But Cindy, marketing, what's your take on all this?
Oh, I agree with everything that's been said. And the social media part, I can say is like, for example, I'm on LinkedIn and I do a lot of promotion and reading and commenting on other people's posts on LinkedIn to get my name known out there and to get my views and thoughts out there. But it's also how you promote it, what you say. And you're right, there is this perception that it's only for these very easy people who get along kind of approach granola crack. And I deal with a lot of high conflict. And when I'm working with my high conflict families, the most important thing I say to them is the decisions on how you're going to continue parenting your children post-separation are in your hands. They're not in the hands of a stranger, of a judge who doesn't understand your family dynamics. So these are decisions that should be made by you, the parents, and not by a stranger. And when I say that, it really resonates. I also agree with you, Russell, that when you do have this high conflict, when you have couples it's difficult to be in the same room, we do it as a shuttle. So there's a lot of different procedures that can be put in place. It's designed for your family, and it's not a one size fits all.
And depending on the level of conflict, you may have safety plans to get the one spouse to and from the office so they're not leaving at the same time and everything else. You're right. All right, Nat. Oh, sorry, Jenny, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, so I've actually attended your guys' Runaway Train presentation. I attended it at the IACP when it was in Toronto. And I thought it was really, really interesting, some of the creative approaches that you've taken to these very, difficult, high conflict files, things that, from the lawyer perspective, we don't even think about. Can this, go into a collaborative process? Can we carve one issue out of the collaborative process? Just, rather than screening a file, into collaborative, you're looking at it as screening it out of collaborative, and maybe you're not even screening the whole file out. You're just screening a specific issue. I thought it was an excellent presentation.
Carrie and I
are planning.
Carrie and others got a real rough ride when we proposed that 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
All the purists thought we were Satan and we're going to ruin everything they've built. And
the villagers were coming at us with pitchforks and flame.
You know what? The court system's broken, right? Why, if you can get them out of that system, it's going to help everybody. Nat, marketing, what's your take here?
I'm going to quote my trainer, mentor, dear friend, Brian Galbraith, because he told me from the outset when I trained that collaborative practice starts with you. And it's so true. You have to market it in every consultation you do, and you have to make people aware of the process, its advantages, its disadvantages, and ultimately ask them, do you want to have a good relationship with your separating spouse at the end of this process? And I will say 9 times out of 10, most people say yes.
Yeah. It's so insightful. Brian should be here today. He's got such great advice. Carrie, what's your take on the marketing?
I'm a fan of tell everybody that will listen, even if they won't, I tell them anyways. So honest to God, I've got files about getting a mammogram. So too much information there, but I'm really one that I will tell anybody that'll listen. So, I've got nothing else to do, so I might as well sell my services while I'm there. But yeah, I have, and I've told everyone, I talk to real estate agents all the time. Like when my kids were buying houses and things like that, like they ask, what do you do? And I was like, well, let me tell you. So I'm a really big thing is that collaborative can be the best kept secret, but if you have a big mouth like me, it doesn't have to be. And quite frankly, we get great files by doing it that way.
Okay, let's run the poll. because story time, because the other thing is costs, right? A lot of new collaborative lawyers have trouble selling it because, oh, well, I don't need all these professionals and it's going to cost this and that. Having the confidence to say this is not necessarily a less expensive process, but it could be. But just managing the client's expectations at the front end. And for story time, I'm like you, Carrie. Pre-pandemic, I would go to Costco just to walk around. I'm not necessarily, see what's new because it's gone if you don't buy it that day, and it'd be a chance to get out of the office for half an hour. Yeah. And I'd bump into people and I would get clients, and the staff would know who I was. And they said, oh, you know what? This client's going through a divorce. Let me introduce you. This is in Costco, like in the toilet paper aisle or something, right? So you can get clients everywhere. You can get collaborative clients every time you step out of the house at the office. They're out there. Okay, so what is your experience in collaborative practice? Well, you've heard my experience. Let's see what our audience thinks. Get our poll results up. I'm interested in being trained. 76%. Well, you are in the right place today. We've Daphne put the stuff in the thing, the QR code or the website in the chat box. People can sign up. I'm new to collaborative practice, less than 2 years experience. Well, 6%. Yeah, I feel your pain. This can be tough when you're starting off. Experience in collaborative practice, 18%, 3 to 10 years, 10 years plus. All right, so we've got a lot of 10 years less experienced crowd with us today. All right, attracting the right clients. Nat, take the lead. Tell us what we need to know.
So I can tell you I was trained in collaborative practice back in 2011, and within about 5 years of having been trained, I started my own collaborative study group, which went a long way in helping me establish myself as a collaborative professional, and it enabled me to network with like-minded people. So it's really important that you get your name out there, they know your approach, they become familiar with you. And by doing that, they will actually refer you to spouses of their clients. I make sure that my website and my biography speak to my strengths in collaboration. And I like to explain why I'm passionate about the process, particularly in consultations. So always have your elevator pitch ready. As you said, Russ, even in Costco, you can use that elevator pitch. And when conducting initial consultations, I do start to get a feel for my client at the outset, their level of reasonableness, flexibility, their goals and interests, their views and preferences, and I assess whether or not I think collaboration is going to be a good option for them. I raise collaborative solutions that have worked in the past. I speak to my success stories. And when necessary, I alert them to possible hurdles that I foresee. And that's honestly a really good way to manage their expectations. And then also, I prepare my client for what to expect in the process itself. So I'll speak to steps within the process and whether or not triads or shuttling might be appropriate given their specific circumstances.
Yeah.
Apart from that, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nat. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I do talk to the client. I'm very transparent about the fact that we should have a financial and a family professional at the table, but I am open to hearing from my client about A, whether or not they can afford having those professionals at the table, and B, whether or not they want to try to generate solutions without them present. I do try to have them remain open, though, to the idea of adding professionals down the road as an option. I also proposed potential collaborative counsel to the other side. I'm not always successful in having the other spouse retain the counsel that I've had experience dealing with and that I've had success with, but it's a helpful way to get them to the collaborative practice website that corresponds with their jurisdiction. And hopefully they'll handpick their own professional if they're not happy with the idea of having opposing counsel refer them to a professional. And then finally, I do reach out to my network of financial and family professionals to see whether or not they have availability to take on the file, to devise a proposed team of professionals based on the facts at hand, and to address housekeeping matters, such as how to structure meetings. Like I said, triads or shuttling may be appropriate. And as well, we often speak about how the process will be paid for, because often there's a financial disparity between the participants. And so sometimes we need to think about leveling the playing field.
Yeah, I really liked what you said, Nat, about hurdles and addressing potentially objections up front. The big one's impasse, right? What if we don't agree? Somebody's got to decide. Normalize it. Impasse is part of every process, and it's usually, I think, a good sign because cases usually resolve quickly after impasse. The other thing I really like, Nat, full teams. That's my default. I don't care if you got kids or not.
Absolutely.
I'm bringing a family professional in to manage the lawyer's personalities, not the children, right? And you know you need them in there in that room to call time out when we forget that we're being collaborative. But Carrie, what's your take on attracting the right client?
You know, attracting the right clients, there's a really, it's becoming more and more common now for clients to be coming to my office as the financial professional, or even perhaps even to Cindy's office as the family professional, that they're coming into us first.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do, I like to sell a full team. If lawyers, if you think it's hard to sell a family professional and financial professional, try selling a lawyer. It can be really interesting. Going, no, really, it's okay. Their rates are great. It can be really interesting sometimes getting over that hurdle. But there's a few things that I like to ask clients when they're coming in, they want to get things done. One of the things that I like to do is I ask them what their expectations are, like, and what their thoughts are about court, because I kind of want to know where their head is. Sometimes they'll be like going, this is what I want, and then I need to know why. So we want to get into the whys right away with a lot of clients. But once they kind of figure out and they're hearing themselves say it out loud, sometimes they're sitting there going, oh, this sounds crazy. I don't want to really be doing that. I want something better. So then it's really easy to talk about things like it's a private process. Your neighbors don't need to know everything. It's a concierge service. By the way, on the private and concierge service, if you're a business owner, you love collaborative, especially depending on the size of your business. I know I have files like this right now, where it's about if they were in the court system, their competitors may be very well aware of what's going on and be able to get some vital information about their business. In the collaborative setting, they don't have that. It's nice and private. We keep everything private. There's nothing of a public record going out there for everyone to see. And that's a really large selling feature with wealthy clients, with clients that have businesses, clients that or even small towns. You guys know that if you live in a small town, everybody knows your world. So
They think they know your business.
well, yeah, they think they know your world. So, but like it's about keeping things private. And it's also about letting them know that in this process, we're not about ripping the family apart and getting people to fight more. We're about finding you have 4 people. If you have 2 lawyers, a financial professional, and a family professional, you have 4 professionals that are working strictly for your family to come up with a solution that works for your family. But recognizing that if you have kids, you're a family forever. You are never going to change. The change is that you're still mom and dad, but you're not husband and wife. So I try and sell our family professional as, listen, I don't know about you guys. I didn't get an owner's manual when I had my children. The hospital apparently was out of them that day. So I look at our family professional is, listen, y'all are going to get a program that says, hey, this is how we're going to co-parent. Somebody's actually going to show you how to do this. They're going to show you how to communicate better. You know, it's about telling them these great things, and they're like, oh, you know, your separation agreement, it's kind of like your warranty or your guarantee. Hey, we don't know how to do something great. Go to the manual and find out the solution. Such a better way, and you're building it. So we know we have buy-in from both clients. They're more likely to adhere to everything that they're agreed to.
No owner's manual. You can't return the kids to Costco. I'm not gonna-
Apparently not. They don't take those back.
All right, let's run our next poll. And I just want to comment on a point you made, Carrie, which was a great one. This poll question is, what do you see as a barrier in clients joining collaborative practice? You know, this idea of a small business or a family-run business. We talk about this in a program we produce called Saving the Golden Goose. And it's basically how collaborative practice can keep this business running. Oftentimes there are adult children in the business, there's legacy issues, a whole bunch of issues that a court's not equipped to deal with. But we can get pretty creative in the collaborative setting to come up with solutions. There could be tax issues that corporate restructuring may trigger an audit, or there could be assets that may trigger tax consequences with CRA. Lots of this could be done bringing in experts, tax planners, corporate lawyers, all these people who would not be available if you're just litigating at a superior court somewhere. So great point. Well, we're giving the audience a few minutes to answer this poll, and I want to thank everybody for participating and answering the questions. It really helps us tailor our content. We do have a question from a senior practitioner who shows up often to these events. And it's, all right, can we hear more about siphoning off issues such as the recalcitrant spouses redisclosure and other such issues with high conflict cases? Well, that's runaway train. Sometimes they're going to refuse to participate because so-and-so is not going to produce disclosure, or so-and-so will never pay spousal support at the amount that's required. And what Carrie and I and others have done is, okay, we're going to take that one issue and say the collaborative lawyers, we pulled it right into the participation agreement. The collaborative lawyers can go to court to deal with disclosure. Sometimes it's helpful having a court there because it could be a third-party disclosure where we need an order to compel the information. Save and accept that exception. The lawyers are still collaboratively all in and are going to participate, and all the other rules apply. So I find when we sever off those issues, make an exception in the participation agreement, I've never had to go to court to deal with it. We settle it within the collaborative process, but it gets buy-in from the clients. They say, okay, I'm going to give this process a try. Carrie, do you want to talk about runaway train and high conflict cases and severing some issues off?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, going from court into collaborative or vice versa. So taking those small issues. So you actually made a good point, Russell, about taking something where we cannot get information because it's a third party, and it's crucial that we have that information. And we've had that happen in a matter that we've done where we've gone back to the court and said, this is all we need. We need help with this. And sometimes, you know, it's that thing that gets them over it. The other thing is that having them acknowledge the fact that we have the ability to go to court on something kind of gets people to look and go, I'm going to stay in line. I don't want the cost of going and doing that. So it gets them into a different frame of mind. Going with a runaway train where you've had a family and they're now in litigation exhaustion, both financially, emotionally, and every other way, bringing them into this process gets them to go, oh, like everybody all of a sudden calms down because we're dealing with an issue by issue rather than dealing with a process. So going to court is a process, whereas going into collaborative, it's issue by issue. We can take it one at a time. We can take it 10 at a time if that's what they want to do. It really is about having that concierge service where we're saying, how do you guys want to proceed? This is your process. This is your lives. We want to make sure we're getting it right for you. And this is not about cost. This is all about bringing value to the clients. It's all about value add. How do we add value to a process that they're going to have to go through anyways?
And if you're pulling a high conflict case out of the court system to do collaboratively, you can tell the case management judge, we're pulling this off your docket but maybe allow us to return if there's a specific issue we need help with. They're more than happy to help. They're excited to get the case out of the court system. And a lot of the judges are collaboratively trained practitioners from when they used to practice law. So I've found the court has been very cooperative with counsel when they try to get high conflict cases out of the system. All right, let's see what our audience thinks about our poll number 4. All right, barrier in clients joint, costs 20%, not understanding the process 32%, power imbalance is 20%, high conflict 16%, not being able to keep the same lawyer if it goes to court. I used to hear that all the time. You know, am I going to lose you as my lawyer if it doesn't work out? So lot to unpack there. Introducing clients to the collaborative practice and initial outreach kind of ties into our poll results there. I'm just going to randomly pick on people, and I'm going to start with Jenny now. What do you think of the poll results, and how do you approach introducing them to the process?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to build that client interest in the collaborative process before the consultation. This is from the first contact with your firm. So whether that's phone, email, through, casual conversation, initial intake. I think that, in terms of the website, making sure that collaborative practice is front and center in your online presence is really important, rather than having it hidden under a subpage in the list of, the 20 services that your firm offers. Make it approachable for clients. So using clear, client-friendly language to describe the process. And I really like the idea of adding testimonials from clients, of course, anonymously or initialized. I find that humanizes the process a little bit and makes it more relatable and can spark that client interest. So getting people in from their first sort of contact with your firm is really important. Once someone's had that contact with your firm, there's tons of resources that you can provide. So I know in the training that I did, there were handouts that my trainers included. I did my training with the Waterloo Group, and they provided handouts to all the trainees. And these were intended for the trainees to eventually use in their collaborative practice to share with clients. I've also seen, I believe it's the Hamilton Halton group. They have a extremely fulsome, I believe it's called a client resource finder. And while it's intended for clients once they've already entered a collaborative process, definitely sort of the initial resources in that binder are something that you can share with clients from the outset, from that initial contact, when they have a little bit of interest. Well, let me send you some more resources. Let people sort of marinate on the idea, get familiar with that idea. Because if it's new to them, it can be scary. So I know with CDT, we have a lot of these resources. If there's any CDT members here, we have a lot of these resources in the member section of our website. So.
There's so much gold. I'm going to get to you in a sec, Matt. There's so much gold there. The testimonials, I can't say enough about these testimonials. I go buy something off Amazon. I'm reading testimonials before I buy it. And clients marinating, same thing. I'm looking at headlights for an old car that I have, and I've been thinking about it for 3 days. It's not going through a divorce is a much bigger process, but this is the nature of how people make choices these days. They're going to look online, they're going to read the testimonials, they're going to kick the tires and think about it. So you're exactly right, Jenny. Nat, you want to go next?
Yes, just to add to what Jenny said, I sometimes offer a joint information session for spouses. No legal advice is imparted during that session. It's purely to get both spouses acquainted with the process so that they're both receiving the information in real time and seriously contemplating it as an option. And in terms of addressing high conflict matters, I often tell people reach out to the family professional or the financial professional that I'm referring you to. They're happy to give you a 15-minute free consultation. And often that's enough to get people feeling safe and more interested in the process.
Right. And our audience is building their collaborative practice. You can reach out to anybody on the screen here or other collaborative professionals. They'll share resources, handouts, precedents, whatever you need to help build your practice. We've got lots of resources to draw upon. Just ask. And even getting mentorship, maybe sit in on 1 or 2 collaborative meetings and build those connections. But those are great tips, Nat. Thank you. Cindy? Initial introducing clients to the process.
So I'm going to jump on to a little bit of what Nat said. It's again, and Carrie has referred to the concierge service. So what does your family need? So for example, yes, I do provide that 15-minute free consultation. And like that, I'm not imparting any specific information. I'm not asking for any specific details about your family, but it's what I can do for you and what this process can do for you and your family in helping you build that parenting plan and helping you deal with the high conflict. I often get a lot of, well, IPV or power imbalance automatically discounts you from the collaborative process. It actually protects you better. And it's you helping your clients understand that their needs and their safety will be protected. This is why you need to use the family professional, because in my intake, I do screening for IPV, I do screening for power imbalance. And if I find there are issues, we do a deeper dive into that. And we have a safety plan. Russ has referred to safety plan previously. And we have that safety plan in place that meets the needs of your family specifically. So if you can share with your clients, as you're promoting this to your clients, we have a family professional, we have a financial professional who is in place as well to protect your financial integrity, to protect the safety of your family, your concerns, somebody who's going to listen to all of your concerns that you won't get in court. And I think it's bringing it back to this will address your needs that will not be addressed in court. The judges don't want to hear it. So for that perspective, it's you imparting to your clients that this is the process that is going to protect your family and meet the needs of your family specifically.
So much to unpack there too. What you said, Cindy, is exactly right. You get a voice in this process. If you're in court and you're speaking as a client, speaking up to the judge, the lawyer looks like they're not doing their job, and the judge will chastise the lawyer, like, control your client. They don't get a voice here. That's why they have counsel. This process, they do get a voice. So it's a really great selling feature. And I just love professionals. I love family professionals. I love financial professionals. Family professionals are easy. There's no kids. I tell my clients, there's been cases where the agreements have been set aside because somebody was emotionally compromised or didn't have the capacity to sign the agreement, even if there was a lawyer involved. So it really bulletproofs your agreement by having that extra person in the room. And with the financial professional, just think of the costs you're saving. If you're going to have Natalie or I or Jenny do these financial documents at hourly rates and go through your banker box of coffee stained bank statements, we'll do it. It's just very inefficient. Carrie can put one brief together for the full team and you're saving money. So in terms of selling it, I think it's for the professionals are easy, but I've got some experience and I'm just sharing some of the tips I'm deploying. But Carrie, how was your take on introducing clients to the process?
You know what? I find it. I think I'm like you, Russ. We've been doing this for so long that I find this is a really easy thing to sell, because we are so focused on what their interests are and where they're going and what they want to accomplish. It's easy to show them how that some of the things that they're asking for and some of the things that they're doing aren't able to happen in a court setting. Whereas in this setting, I actually like to think of collaborative as the best of all worlds. So it's the best of mediation. It is the best of litigation. So in the sense that you have your legal counsel, you have an advocate, you have somebody there on your side, but you have other professionals that are neutral. So someone like myself as a financial neutral, someone like Cindy, who's your family professional neutral, and we're kind of tempering things down as we go. And Cindy really nailed it on the head when she said about people being heard. And it is the biggest way to calm people down and to get them in the right frame of mind to make decisions and to move forward. It's great. They're being heard. They're like going, okay, I've been heard. I can move on from demanding I get the birdhouse in the backyard. Whereas if they're in court, they may be spending $10,000 about a birdhouse that cost them $10 at Walmart. No, it's not about the birdhouse. It's about what's behind that. And
Yeah.
Russ, you're absolutely right in your comments about saying, even if you don't have children, you need a family professional involved. We don't know about if there's other control issues that are behind this or if there's an abuse issue. The emotions from both sides are just so overwhelming. If you're the person pulling the trigger or having it pulled on, it doesn't matter. You have emotion. And it really helps me, and I'm going to be selfish here, because money is emotional. No matter what anybody says, money's emotional. Go and win the lottery and tell me if you get emotional. I know I'm going to. So,
But the family professional is gonna gonna get those red flags, right?
yeah.
Those underlying concerns that the client may not tell their lawyer.
100%.
And those are the issues that end up at an impasse.
They
It's
do
not about
really,
the vacuum cleaner or the birdhouse. It's about something else they didn't get to talk about. And that's the hill they're going to die on.
Mhm.
All the professionals scratching their heads saying, why are we having an impasse over this?
Mhm.
So you're exactly right. Sorry, Cindy, jump in there.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share an anecdotal story from a file that I completed about a year ago, and it was an older couple in their 70s. So, but I was still brought in because of the emotional upheaval in the financial settlement. And in one of the team meetings, so mom was aware that the dad had lent their son a significant amount of money. She thought somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 that she lent the son, that dad lent the son, and there's two daughters as well. Well, at this meeting, dad dropped a little bombshell that he actually lent the son $400,000. Had I not been there as a family professional to unpack that with them, to manage the emotions and the shock on everybody's face at dad's disclosure, this definitely would have met an impasse. This definitely would have blown up that particular file. And so that's why in selling this, and the lawyers were great in saying, this is why we have all of us here to help you manage the emotions in and around that. That probably would not have been dealt with properly in court.
This is such an important topic. I just want to spend a few more minutes on it. Another example that came to my attention, the wife collected these Royal Dalton dolls, and husband was, during the course of the marriage, would threaten to destroy her dolls with a hammer, to be mean to her, right? And this isn't something the person would share with their lawyer. It's just another one of several forms of abuse that were stacking up against this person. And during the course of the meeting, he would tap the collaborative in-person meeting. He would tap the cup like he's going to break her doll on something that an issue he didn't like. And it was a trigger, and she would shut down and just couldn't function anymore. None of the professionals knew what was happening, but the family professional, yes, this is a trigger from what they're doing during the course of the relationship. So it gives you such insight that you wouldn't have, and now you can structure your meetings and accordingly. So super, super valuable getting a family professional. We do have a question that came in. Is the family professional on the table a third person neutral chosen by both parties? So you want to talk a little bit about choosing how we lawyers choose a professional?
Sure. So when I have my first call with a collaboratively trained practitioner about having just entered a file, typically one of the very first things we'll do is start talking about what team we will propose to both clients. And so we give our suggestions as to which professionals we've had success with in the past. And generally, we'll give clients either one option that we've agreed upon as both a family and a financial professional, or several options. And often it's based on their financial situation and whether or not they're able to afford a particular range or hourly rate. And often it's successful. I find if it's being recommended jointly by both counsel, the clients are more likely to sign on and take, we can lead a horse to water, and in that case, we can make it drink, thankfully.
And just to add to that, sorry, I
No,
was
go
just
ahead.
to like Natalie said, that I have had clients who are a little bit hesitant because they've taken a long time to really pick who their lawyer is going to be. And they've, as we talked about before, they've marinated on it, they've read the reviews, and all of a sudden, well, there's a new person that's going to be involved, that's going to know everything about my life and everything about my children. And I find that, the community in Ontario of these neutral professionals is amazing. And they'll have an intake call with their client, or not an intake call, sorry, like an introductory call with the client. And I find that those can be extremely important and instrumental in this buy-in. Have your client call Carrie or call Cindy, hear what they're all about, hear how they talk about the process and how they're going to help and add value. And it sells itself.
This is this program's about building your collaborative practice. And I think this is probably one of the most important topics, right? Introducing clients to collaborative practice. How do you sell this process to clients? What I do is I contrast it to, how a collaborative lawyer will do an initial consultation versus a non-collaboratively trained lawyer. So what I say is we talk about goals and interests, right? And we structure an agreement that's important to your family. That may or may not be in accordance with the legislation, but we'll still give you advice in terms of what you're entitled to receive. And you contrast that to a rights-based analysis, right? The lawyer is going to tell you what support should be, where the kids should live. We're already doing the net family property calculation on the napkin while we're talking and figuring out what your share of the home should be and all the rest of it. So you're getting a chance to structure an agreement that's important to you. And as a lawyer building your practice, you need to communicate to the client. That's what this process offers. Probably one of the most effective tools I've seen to close the deal. When I say close the deal, I mean get the other spouse to choose a collaborative lawyer so we can get the process started with a full team, is one I think developed by Brian Galbraith, or at least shared with me by Brian Galbraith, where after our initial consultation, I'll write an email to the client. But the email is not for the client, it's for the client's spouse. And it's just talking about the process and how it can be amicable and all the other benefits of collaborative practice. And then I have that spouse print it off and give it to their other spouse. A lot less intimidating than receiving a letter on a lawyer's letterhead. It's more like, and like I do what Nat does. I'll include 3-4 names of other lawyers within that particular spouse's community to reach out to, who have the training. Sometimes they get contacted, sometimes they don't. I don't care. I'm just trying to give them options. I don't want them to pick a lawyer without the training and now we're stuck in small C collaborative or somebody doesn't know what they're doing. So that's another really effective way. The third story is another Brian Galbraith. Brian, I love you wherever you are. Brian Galbraith story, where you go into Canadian Tire. Let's just say you need a mop, right? When you go to talk to the person at Canadian Tire, you just want to know where the mops are, right? You don't have saying, oh, well, we got tires on sale and there's lawnmowers over here. It's like, I want the mop. I want to get out the store, right? But that's sort of what lawyers are doing, right? We're saying the big bundle of rights and obligations and talking about exclusions and personal injury awards and this and that. And the client has no idea what they may only want one thing, but we're trained to give them this big speech. But be client focused, right? What are your clients' goals? What are they asking you to do? And I think that makes this initial outreach a lot more effective. And it also helps you build your practice. So that's my take. But let's talk about education, educating office staff on collaborative practice. So what do they need to know? Jenny, let's go with you.
Yeah, so your office staff, your receptionist, assistants, intake coordinator, whatever you have in your office, these are often the first point of contact for a new client. And I think that all of these people in your office should be able to not only name collaborative practice as an option, but speak positively about it and answer, a potential client or a new client's initial questions about the process. It's not about giving it legal advice. It's just about speaking positively about this as a process option. I think this can sometimes feel challenging for office staff because they don't have the benefit of having attended a 40-hour training. And it's sometimes new to them, or, especially if this is something you're getting off the ground in your practice. I find that could be, an intimidating new thing to talk to potential clients about, because people, office staff, they're used to speaking to clients in a specific way, and this is something new. And again, I would say check out the resources. There are lots of resources online, YouTube, with the different trainers and practice groups where collaborative trainers have actually taken the time to record role-playing interviews of that initial client call. So have your staff watch these role-playing videos, and then, if they're open to it, role play those initial calls yourself. And I think that can go a long way to improving people's comfort level with having those types of conversations.
Great tips. Nat?
I also like to acquaint staff and my law clerk with the role of the family professional and the financial professional so that they're aware of what tasks will be delegated to those outside professionals, so that we have a synergy and the clerk already knows, okay, I'm not going to go ahead and start preparing the Form 13 financial statement. I'm going to leave that to the financial professional. So just giving them that heads up, and also, if possible, giving your staff materials on collaborative practice, and arming them with a brochure or some kind of information kit that they can provide to clients from the outset is also helpful if they don't feel comfortable speaking to it.
Cindy?
I don't have office staff, so it's a really easy thing for me to, it's just
All
me,
right.
private practice.
Carrie?
For me, I'm always making sure they understand that this is a very client-focused process that we're in, and that we're dealing with goals and interests. We have a firm belief in my office that people that have good information will make good decisions. And so it's always about taking that extra time, making sure that they understand why we ask for certain things, why we repeatedly ask for the same statement over and over and over again until we get the right date and time, rather than say, but this is my current one, but your data separation was 2 years ago. That's really nice, but we really need what happened there. So just teaching staff to be having that patience. We've done this a million times. Well, it might be their first one. Hopefully it's their first and only one that they're going to go through, and they're not going to be doing this repeatedly. But we really want to be taking that extra time and that extra care.
Yeah. Have them watch live events and YouTube videos like this one, webinars, very educational. Training. We have intake manuals that our intake team has. It includes common objections that clients will raise with answers that they could provide. We tell them about other professionals, and they're going to have their own retainer agreements, potentially, that would need to go into the participation agreement. And so give them an idea of what the role of the other professionals are and how they interact with the full team. But those are all great tips. Let's move to our next subject, structuring initial consultations. We kind of touched upon this a little bit, but let's take a deeper dive. Carrie, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, our initial consultation, so we're neutral. So we actually have both clients coming into us. So both parties are with us. We never do a joint intake session. Everything we do with them is separate. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, when I'm doing initial consultation, I don't know the dynamics of the family. I don't know if we're dealing with some power imbalances. I don't know if we're dealing with any domestic violence. So I want to be mindful of that. So that's the first reason. The second reason is people talk really, really, really freely when it's just them and you, and they will just tell you all sorts of things that you need to know. So our intakes are done this way. We have some basic questions, and then we have some really nice big open-ended questions because we want to get as much information as possible. I always tell clients, give me everything. I'll let you know what's going to be relevant, what's not going to be relevant. And it's really interesting because sometimes those little teeny tiny comments that they make in intake can make a really big difference later on, because you'll remember something that they said. We're like going, oh yeah, I remember they said that little Billy wanted to do this or needed something. And all of a sudden you're like going, oh, and that's what they're not talking about. Also find by doing it this way, they're telling me things they may not tell the family professional because they don't think it's relevant. They may not tell their lawyers because they may not think it's relevant, or they just forget to tell them. So it's you're giving them all of this. They're giving you all this information, and you're giving information as well. Part of our intake, we actually have a graph that shows them the path.
Yeah.
And so we can tell them, listen, you're at 50%, you're at 70%, you're here, you're there. And we tell them, this is exactly how we go down this path. And they go, oh, okay. And it's kind of like it's a board game. It looks like a board game. So they like that.
Oh, it was little Johnny.
Oh, I changed his name.
We're gonna speed up just a little bit here. Run our next poll. That's going to come up on our screen. And in addition to talking about your intake technique, let's also talking about buy into the collaborative mindset. So I'm going to go to you next, Cindy.
So in my initial consultation, and often if it's not a client of mine that I will talk to, I get a referral from lawyers or from a financial professional. My initial conversation is very neutral. I will explain the overall collaborative process briefly, and then I will explain my process, what working with me looks like, what I can offer them without collecting any personal information, because I have to stay neutral. And whoever I'm talking to first, I will tell them to share my contact information with the other party so that they're allowed to have the same neutral conversation with me as the first person has had, just so they can find out who I am, to see if I would be a good fit for their family, and to ask me some questions. And then I, like Carrie, am jointly retained. So both have to agree to use my services after that initial conversation. And then my intake process is also separate, because in that initial intake, what I explained to them is their opportunity to tell me everything they need for me to know in a safe, confidential environment to help support them through this process. And they're very relieved that they will have this one-on-one with me where they can share all of their concerns. And importantly, too, is their goals, their wishes, what they hope to accomplish. What are their concerns about the other party? What are their concerns about collaborative process? I then am able to take, and then I screen also for any kind of power imbalance, high conflict, intimate partner violence. And then I will then bring those ideas back to the team so that as a team, we're able to structure our process for the integrity of the family as a whole. So if there are some power imbalance or some IPV issues, I need to bring that back to the team so we know what we need to do as a team to keep them safe. If there's common goals and interests, then I share that with the team so we know where to lead this family. But the initial is very, very neutral, and then the second level is very individualized to each client.
All right, let's see what our audience is thinking. Thank you, everybody, for participating in our polls today. As a professional, what are the hurdles in making the paradigm shift? What is the shift? All right, 11%. Carrie, I'm going to get you to talk about that. Can't jump over the hurdle. That's 11%. Who's got the short legs here? Too new, not enough experience. Yeah, that's a big one. It'll come. 37%. As a neutral, hard to shift from working with only one client to two. Yeah, that's 16%. client's perspective and expectations of the lawyer's role, 47%. Yeah, that's it. You know, they've got this image of a Hollywood lawyer in the classic adversarial courtroom setting. The 16% other, you can put that in the chat. Okay, Carrie, talk about paradigm shift and buy into the collaborative mindset. And I'll give you 60 seconds.
Oh, thanks. So, you know, making a paradigm shift, this is actually for all professionals. It's not just for lawyers. So it's that idea of taking the way you've always done something. So especially if you're very litigious, if that's the way you've done things all along, is recognizing that collaborative practice is not about war by another name. We're not looking at that. It's about kind of shifting from being a process focus to being an interest-based focus. Is very much all about a client-centered approach. When you're going to court, you're doing a lot of paperwork, you're filling things out, you're very mindful of the tasks ahead of you that are required to appease the court. That's not a part of this. There is a process that is in place, but the process is based on focusing in on the client and what the clients need. And it's not just what your client needs, it's about what both clients need. I find the easiest way to keep a paradigm shift is I'm no longer looking at one client. And sometimes I do litigation work too. But my view is what is best for the family as a whole? Because we have to keep in mind that we're dealing with a family, not just an individual here. So I find that in doing that paradigm shifting, it's got to be shifting from this is my client, I have to get them everything that they want, to this is my client, but how do I have my client get what is acceptable in this process, keeping the family whole, and also making sure that whatever agreements they have, they're going to abide by. So one of the biggest problems with litigation is somebody's being told and they don't get a say. So it's about looking in and saying, this is what my client and clients with an S, what everybody needs in order to keep this family as a functioning whole going forward. Because if they have small kids, they're going to be at this for a really, really long time. So I find that's a big deal. I know it's difficult sometimes for family professionals to make that shift because, again, they're so used to dealing with one client and one client only. And it's about understanding it's a whole. We're looking at everything and everyone, not just being singular. I think that's the best way I can put it in making that shift.
And growing and sustaining collaborative practice, start with the skill sets you've learned today. There's been lots of great tips. I want to talk also about communicating collaborative success. But Jenny and Nat, I didn't give you a chance to talk about initial consultations, so you can do both. Neither, your pick. I'll start with Jenny.
Sure. So initial consultations, I mean, we've talked a lot about it. I think having some kind of checkbox on your intake forms to plant that seed is really going to prompt curiosity and then open the door to have that conversation at your consultation. I'm just mindful of the time. I think also at the initial consultation, framing is really important. So rather than framing collaborative practice to your clients as, this is a really good option, if the other person agrees to it, frame it as a choice that your clients can initiate and share ways where how your client can share that information with their spouse, like Russell, the letter example that you mentioned earlier. As a lawyer, I think it's another way to frame in the initial consultation is to, rather than asking your client, would you like to, try a court process? Are you interested in mediation? Are you interested in arbitration? Are you interested in collaborative practice? Start from a place of, at this firm, we generally begin with new clients by exploring collaborative resolutions. This will allow you to avoid court. This will protect your privacy. This will reduce the conflict. And if you're starting from that place with them, again, I think that will open the door for that deeper discussion about this being a really great process option.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment and thank Nicole and Daphne behind the scenes for doing the polls, the slides. Daphne's already put a link to Saving the Golden Goose, our training webinar we did. That's how to save businesses using collaborative practice. And Runaway Train. That's how to pull high conflict cases out of the court system into collaborative practice. So those are presentations we've done previously. You can watch them at your leisure. Got our training slide up here. You can get the code and the discount codes are open till this Friday. But Nat, back to you. Any tips on initial consultations and communicating CP success?
Yes, I try to just speak to the highlights of the process, which are really, and the strengths of the process, which are that it's transparent. People like coming to the table, and the fact that it'll be, and I tell them it's much like an open-handed game of poker. And by playing that game, you are really garnering the best shot possible at coming to a win-win solution. And you're maintaining control over the outcome. You are helping to author the next chapter of your life. And those points alone, I find, are often enough to get people interested in the process.
I'm tearing up just listening to you, Nat. Okay, quick roundtable, final thoughts, 15, 20 seconds or less. Rapid fire. Carrie, go.
You know what, at the end of the day, whether you want to stay a litigator, you want to get into collaborative, you want to be more mindful of what's going on in your client's head, take the collaborative training. Keeping in mind, if you're a litigator, almost all of your judges are now collaboratively trained and they're looking for the skill set in the lawyers that are in front of them, and they respond very positively to that. I think collaborative training, quite frankly, it is a great thing that transfers over to all areas of our lives. It's not just about what we practice and what we're doing. It works for everything from learning how to ask proper questions to learning how to listen to our spouses and our children. I think it's a great way to go.
Rapid fire. Jenny, go.
Sure. So to follow what Carrie said, after you've done the training, my best advice is to get involved. So join your local collaborative practice group, get involved with that, get involved with if there's a small group in your area. I mean, not even in your area. A lot of these things are virtual now. So geography should not be a barrier, but get involved, meet other people who are doing this type of work. And that's the best way to become more comfortable with it, get referrals, and grow your practice.
And the training you'll get involved with, your trainers and your students will become a network group as well. Rapid fire, Cindy.
Again, take the training, because regardless of how you want to structure your practice, it will teach you how to ask the questions that will put your client's needs first. And it will also help you ask the questions that will put your client's children's needs at the forefront. It's the best involvement for their family, and it helps you as a lawyer meet the best interest needs of your clients.
Nat.
Get a mentor. Develop a friendship with somebody. Reach out to me. I'm friendly. I'll go to coffee with you. I'm happy to have a virtual meeting with you. It's a really great way to, have the collaborative practice network, become familiar with who you are as a person, and just don't be shy. Reach out.
And the training will make you a better litigator. It's all yours, Daphne. Bring this train into the station. Thank you.
Thanks, Ross. Thank you so much for an amazing presentation today, Carrie, Cindy, Natalie, and Jenny. Thank you for being on Family Law Now. And just a reminder to everyone in the audience that this presentation was accredited by the LSO for 1 hour of professionalism content. And if you're registering for the collaborative practice training, make sure you use the 10% discount code multiple that expires on Friday. So make sure you use that up now. And that's everything. Thank you so much to our audience and our panel.
Yeah, audience played full out. Thank you for participating in the polls. And we had a lot of fantastic questions we didn't get to. And thank you to our presenters today for donating their valuable time and insights. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Bye. Take care.